Alrighty, I will be reading the negative constructive today. Okay, in point A, subpoint A, Danila expresses that the amount of victims has gone up since the ban expired. However, previous assault weapon ban had little effect on gun violence. By Brad Plummer, staff writer of the Washington Post, published January 24th, accessed November 10th, 2013. Many experts have argued that the previous assault weapon ban was fairly easily circumvented, in part because it's difficult to define what an assault weapon actually is, and in part because there are already millions of such weapons in circulation. A University of Pennsylvania study concluded that these loopholes undermined the 1994 law's effectiveness. That study also found that the law appeared to have little effect on gun violence, not least because assault weapons were used just in a small portion of gun crimes. In point B, Danila argues that the ban has increased mass shootings. Evidence connecting assault weapons and crimes are flawed. Christopher S. Koper, principal investigator of the U.S. Department of Justice, access November 2013. Although assault weapons are used in a small percentage of gun crimes, some have argued that assault weapons are more likely to be used in crime than other guns. That assault weapons are more attractive to criminal than lawful gun users due to the weapon's military-style features and their particularly large ammunition magazines. Such arguments are based on the data implying that the assault weapons are more common among gun crimes than among the general stock of civilian firearms. According to some estimates, prior to the federal ban, assault weapons are accounted for less than 1% of firearms owned by civilians, but up to 11% of guns used in crime, based on firearms reported by the police, ATF, before 1986 and 1993. However, these estimates are problematic in a number of respects. ATF statistics are not necessarily representative of the type of guns commonly recovered, not necessarily representative of the types of gun commonly recovered by the police, and ATF statistics from the late 1980s and 1990s particularly tended to overstate the prevalence of assault weapons among crime guns. Further, estimating the percentage of civilian weapons that are assault weapons is difficult because the gun production data are not reported by model, and one must make assumptions about the rate of attrition among the stock civilian firearms. In some point C, Danila argues that mass shooters have assault weapon military features. Illegal weapons can easily be made into legal substitutes. Christopher previously stated citation. Semi-automatic with fewer or no military features, although the law bans copies or duplicates of the named guns, make, and models, federal authorities have emphasized exact copies, relatively cosmetic changes, and such removing flash hider or bayonet mount are sufficient to transform a banned weapon into a legal substitute, and a number of manufacturers now produce modified legal versions of some of the banned guns. In general, the assault weapons bans does not apply to semi-automatics possessing more than one military feature listed under the ban's feature test provision. Although this speaks of the previous ban that was implemented in 1994, it can also be applied to the ban that Dianne Feinstein's ban, because it just shows how if they were able to make legal substitutes for them back then, they will be able to do it with this ban. Okay. In subpoint E, number of victims. It just said they say that James Holmes killed 12 people, but he could have killed a lot more. It is not clear how gun attack with large capacity magazines turn into gun murder. Jeff Roth, Christopher S. Cooper, National Institute of Justice, March 1999. There are several reasons to expect at best a modest ban effect on criminal gun injuries and death. First, studies before the ban generally found that between less than 1 and 8% of gun crimes involved assault weapons, depending on the specific definition of the data source used. Although limited evidence suggests that semi-automatic equipped with large capacity magazines are used into 20 to 25% of gun crimes, it is not clear how often large capacity magazines actually turn a gun attack into a gun murder. Second, offenders could replace the banned gun with legal substitutes and other unbanned semi-automatic weapons to commit their crimes. In contention 2, subpoint A, they mentioned the increase of public safety. However, previous ban has proven not to make much of a difference. J. Donahue, the Milken Institute Review, 2005. Was the ban effective? Probably not. The law was rife with loopholes. For one thing, the law grandfathered assault weapons produced before the ban, which led ban manufacturers to increase production before the law took effect. In addition, gun companies did produce potential lethal guns with little change in performance. Admittedly, the true ban on assault weapons would not have a huge effect on homicide, since most criminals would simply use less powerful guns if desired weapons were unavailable. A strong ban on large capacity magazines, however, which are estimated to be used in 20% of homicides, would be very helpful.
Cross-examination?
So, in subpoint B, could you read that to me again?
The whole thing, or is there something particular that you want to hear?
The first part, please.
Although assault weapons are used in a small percentage of gun crimes, some have argued that assault weapons are more likely to be used in crime than other guns. That assault weapons are more attractive to criminal than lawful gun users due to their weapons' military-style features and particularly large ammunition.
That's good. So, if assault weapons are more likely to be a criminal gun, then why shouldn't we ban them?
I think you're misreading my evidence, because that's what, in that part of the evidence is stating what the popular concept is. However, in the rest of the evidence, it goes to argue why that is a flawed concept.
Okay. Also, I would like to make note that you conceded point D. That
No arguing, questions only.
Okay. And so in A, could you read the last part too? B, contention, the second contention, subpoint A.
Okay. According to some estimates generated prior to the federal ban, assault weapons accounted for less than 1% of the firearms owned by civilians, but 11% of the guns used in crime, based on the firearms reported by the police between 1985 and 1993. However, these estimates are problematic in a number of respects. ATF statistics are not necessarily representative of the types of guns commonly recovered by the police.
Actually, you mentioned that in your last point, you mentioned that while banning assault weapons by themselves wouldn't be helpful.
Time.
No.